Okay, this is 23C. This is the right in Latin, which is always the harder one, the hardest one, because it requires you to really think about every word in a kind of agonizing, painful way. This is typically where the most points do get lost. So if you can sustain your focus on this one, I'm going to give you the first three answers. Again, I urge you, instead of just copying the first three answers, I urge you to really think with me through these sentences, so that you can do the other six by yourself, hopefully. Just, learn how to sort of get the critical elements of each sentence and think them through. So let's start with the first one. Will you run home, boys? Let me type that out here. Will you run home, boys? Now, let's think about that. The verb is this. Will you run? Now that's a question, but it's also, if you turn it into a statement, it would be you will run. So the Romans can do this with one word. It's you. You plural for boys, they're being spoken to. So this is going to be a second person plural verb. And the verb is kuro kurere, which is third conjugation. So we're going to use the ace, et, amos, atis, ent endings. And I'm going to just remind you of those right here. So this is third or fourth conjugation verbs use these endings. So kuro kurere, not a long e here, a short e. Third conjugation uses these six endings to conjugate future tense. So will you run can be expressed as this. Kur is the front end of that verb, and then the back end is just this, atis, right? Second person plural. This is one, two, three, one, two, three. So second plural for you boys, curatis. Now you'd think that might be enough, but then we have to express that as a question. Curatisne. That's a yes or no question. Remember that ne gets added on to whatever first word is in the sentence typically. Curatisne. Home, as in like toward home or homeward, we've seen said as domum. And then pueri here is vocative, not nominative. It's not will the boys run home. That would be nominative. But here the boys are being spoken to. Just put a little comma there. And that makes this vocative. But here the vocative looks just like the nominative. So if you need some review of vocative case, I would look in the first 8 chapters of the book. It's in there somewhere, or you can just search for vocative case on the internet if you need a little reminding of what that is all about. But that is a vocative. They're being spoken to. So here, that's the answer for number 1. You can pause this video at any time, obviously, if you need to sort of look at these things again. Back to number 2. We will sit near the Porta Capena. Now, near the Porta Capena, that's not a big problem. That's just a prepositional phrase. But here we have we will sit. So we will sit. We will sit near the Porta Capena, which again is a gate into the city. The wall around Rome had many entrances or many gates, and the Porta Capena is one of them. So let's isolate the verb here. We will sit. That's all one word. We will sit. Now the verb is to sit is sedeo sedere. Whoops, sedere. What have I done? Hold on a second, I have to change this. Okay. Sedere. Now that is a second conjugation verb. The long E in the infinitive identifies that as second conjugation. So again, I'm going to ask you to look over here. First and second conjugations use bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, bunt. And again, you have all these spelled out in their conjugations. So if you need to, change a verb of your own in these exercises, use these as your sort of model. So these are the endings as they are. These are just the endings, but these are the endings with verbs. So that should guide you for pretty much any verb that's a regular first through fourth conjugation verb. So we got sedeo, sedere, which means to sit. And then we have to think about it's we. We equals first person plural, and it's future. So when you put that all together, we start with said day. I think it's actually a long E there. I've never been huge on long marks. I don't really care about them that much, but I think that is right. So sede, and then we think first person plural right here, and we match up here. We got this bimus, because again it is second conjugation. It's not third or fourth, it's second. So we're going to put this ending onto that, sede bimus. And then near is just prope, and the porticapena will be expressed as an accusative, portam capenam. Why, you may ask? Because prope is an accusative preposition. So words after prope need to be accusatives here. So porticapena is nominative, but portam capenam is accusative. So the whole thing, getting rid of all these marks and lines now. Now I can erase that, and there's our answer for number 2. Sedebimus prope portam capenam. And we go back to number 3. When will the Cornelii climb down out of the carriage? When? Bear with me. When will the I'm just going to say the C. No, I'll read it out. Cornelii climb down out of the carriage. Question. Now here we notice that the subject breaks up the verb, right? The Cornelii will climb. So this is the verb. It happens to have the subject in the middle of it. But if this were expressed again as a statement and not a question, the words would be switched around to the Cornelii will climb down, etc., etc., etc. So don't let that throw you off. Will climb is the verb, and that again will be expressed with one word. So when, let's think about that. When can be ubi or maybe quando. Either one. And then we have the Cornelii, they're the subject. And then we have will climb. Now let's think about that. Will climb down, I should say. I'm sorry, I should have underlined that. That's important. Will climb down is the verb. So that is descendere. Descendo, descendere. Third conjugation again. So again, I will draw your attention to these endings. Third and fourth conjugation uses am, es, et, amos, etis, ent. So the Cornelii, if we think about them as a subject, they are third person plural. Third person plural. They're a they, right? Technically, they're a they. If we were talking to them, they would be like a you. If we were the Cornelii, then they might be we, right? We, the Cornelii. But here, we're just saying, we're talking about them as third person. The Cornelii will climb down. So, and again, it's future. Descendo, descendere, third conjugation, third person plural, they, meaning they, and future. So now we put that all together, and we start with descend. Just like these verbs start with mitt right before the infinitive for third conjugation. mitt, and here descend, and we stop there. And onto that we will put the ending ent for third person plural. So descendent. And then out of the carriage, just another prepositional phrase, ex rida. Actually, we're going to say a rida. It would be X if this was a vowel right here, but this is a consonant. So this is actually a long E. X or A. I don't really care. The Romans sometimes said X rida. It's not really critical. A rida is maybe better in common usage, but X rida is also okay. Ubi or quando. Let's just choose ubi here. Ubi Cornelii descendent a rida. When will the Cornelii climb down and then a rida out of the carriage? Now this, by the way, is a long A because this is an ablative preposition, so this has an ablative ending. And now I'm gonna erase this again, and I'll get rid of all this. And there you have the first three answers for exercise 23C. I meant to make it a little bit longer, but I think 3 out of 9 is certainly a good start. I wish you the best of luck and take care.